Hey everyone, my name is Allie Fink, and for my media analysis assignment, I chose to look at how families are affected by the changes in generations. So many things can contribute to the changes that have occurred as generations do pass, and I specifically looked at the ways that families have evolved for today's generation. I think this topic is really important because a lot of families have been affected by the changes in generations, and to bring awareness to these differences is really important, in my opinion. And there's just been a number of changes, whether they're good or bad. So I liked to look at that in the changes. For my main ideas, I looked at interracial relationships, modern dating, cohabiting, marriage trends, and parenting styles. For my first one, interracial relationships, I found an article by Cheryl Cashin, How Interracial Love is Saving America. Interracial marriage was banned in the past, and now the rates are increasing and even more accepting. I think that's awesome. And so there's just been a really big change from the past to now, and I encourage you to think about the difference from the way that maybe your grandparents grew up to the way you grew up with interracial relationships. And here's an image of an interracial family. Interracial means individuals coming together or in a relationship of different races and different ethnicities. One statistic I really connected with was from Cashin in her article. In 2011, 1 in 4 newly married couples were interracial. I think that's awesome. And that statistic is from 2011. So I can only imagine that in 2018, that would be even higher. And I connected with the structural functionalism for this topic because I looked into the race and ethnicity and how these relationships in society have changed our society in a good way, in my opinion. And for example, it has decreased in discrimination, identity, and intersection. So my second topic is dating, and Angela Johnson did a really good job of comparing the past to today in her article, 7 Dating Problems You Have to Deal With That Your Parents Never Had to. And technology and the internet has influenced modern dating completely. And online dating is one of the biggest ways now for dating, and it has really taken away the traditional values that there were in the past. And so these are significant changes from past generations that there are today. So dinner and flowers were how a date used to be in the past. You'd go out to dinner, maybe go to a movie, and there would be flowers involved. Whereas now, many couples Netflix and chill. And that's something where you don't even interact out in the world. You are just in your room or in your house, not communicating with others. And Aziz Ansari was another author that we looked into this semester, and he did a really good job of explaining dating and gave personal examples throughout his book, Modern Romance. This is an image that I found online, dating in the modern world, and they're obviously on their phones. They're not even making eye contact with each other, and it goes to show how different dating was in the past to the way it is now. And a statistic I connected with was that online dating was the single biggest way people met their spouses, bigger than work, friends, and school combined. And this was from Aziz Ansari in his book, Modern Romance. And I just thought that that was a really good way of showing or giving proof that online dating is one of the biggest things now, which was definitely not the same in the past. And I connected with the feminist theory for this topic because there are plenty of examples of male domination. For example, initiating a date and paying the bill are two things that men are supposed to do, and that, from a feminist perspective, could be seen as insulting because they aren't able to ask on a date or even pay for the date. So I connected with this feminist theory, and there are a lot of dangers to this online dating, which can lead to confined gender roles. So for my third topic, I chose cohabitation, and Terry Gaspard, in her article, Living Together versus Marriage, Benefits and Risks Over the Long Run, did a great job of explaining cohabitation and some benefits and risks and how it has changed from past to now. And she mentions that there was a negative stigma, and now that it's a step preceding marriage. So some of the benefits she mentioned was that of sharing finances, gaining in emotional well-being, and a strong connection between the individuals. But some risks she mentioned or that they were less certain about the permanence of the relationship, whether they were leading to marriage or just cohabiting together. And then the children of cohabiting couples differ from the way that children are of marriage couples. And that's just an image I found online of a cohabiting couple moving in. And one statistic I related with was that the more education that cohabitants have, the more likely their relationships are linked to marriage. That was from Sherilyn. I connected with the postmodernism theory for this topic because there are a large change in the number of cohabiting couples, and you're really able to choose whatever you want, whatever they wish to do, and it's constantly changing. It's very diverse, and it comes along with a social change with technology and internet. So I thought that postmodernism would be a good way to explain cohabitation. And so my fourth one is marriage trends. Lois M. Collins, in her article Marriage in America, it's a different story depending on age. She talks about how marriage has greatly changed from the past and that a lot of people are marrying at a later age, and that education does play a large role and that more individuals are focusing on themselves. And that's just another image from the internet of a married couple. And just to show the decreasing rates, I found this awesome graph. Baby boomers, which is my grandparents, and you can just see how it decreases for Generation X and then even into the millennials, how the rates are just decreasing for the percent of married at ages 18 to 29. And a statistic I found was that of the 37 years between ages 18 and 55, Americans were married for an average of 29 back in 1960. And by 2015, the average had dropped to only 18 years. And that's a significant decrease. Just that it's just a lot of different things have changed from the past to how they are now. And I connected with the symbolic interactionism theory for this topic because I looked at a small scale perspective in marriage, and they have personal interactions between one another, and they create symbols and they share meanings with one another in a marriage. And it's really about the bond between two individuals. So I thought this was a great theory that represented symbolic interactionism in the marriage trends. And then my last topic that I chose was that of parenting styles by Lauren Baubier. Her article, The Free Range Parenting Law, Shaking Up Parenting Practices, was a great article of a parenting style. She talked about free range parenting, which you have more freedom, less control, and you make decisions and defend themselves as children. And there are so many parenting styles out there, and parents have the ability to choose whatever they want, however they want to raise their children. And then Sherilyn also talked about parenting styles. She had 3: permissive, authoritative, and authoritarian. And I connected with Sherilyn's permissive. I thought it related close to the free range parenting that Lauren connected with in her article. And the idea of parenting styles is really just to socialize your children in the best way that you think possible. And this is just another graph that I found online that really shows all the differences in the different parenting styles that there are. And I connected also with the postmodernism theory here because there's so much change and variety in parenting styles, and they can be altered depending on whatever you want. It just depends on how the parents want to raise their children, and that can differ depending on the parent because everyone is different and everyone can raise their children however they wish to. So for my main ideas of my topic and how generations have changed over time, I chose to look into the interracial relationships, modern dating, cohabiting, marriage trends, and parenting styles. And I thought it was just so important to look at the several factors that do contribute to how generations differ as time does pass, and that families have just really been affected by these changes. And as a take-home point, I'd like you to think of some of these questions, like how has your life differed from that of your parents or grandparents? Have you ever been affected by any of the main ideas that I talked about? Would you agree with these 5 main ideas that they have evolved over time? And what do you think will continue in to change for